The following portion of Showcase is sponsored by Resilience Counseling and Social Skills Center. Graduation time is exciting, but it also comes with some really big emotions too. So how can you help support your high school or college graduate through this transition? Well, joining us today is Sierra Horton, SISW with Resilience Counseling and Social Skills Center. All right, I'm feeling this in a big way because I'm the mom of a high school senior, and I know we're supposed to be excited and celebrating, but for a lot of people, it's an emotional time for the parents, but really more so for the young people. How do we help them through this journey?
Yeah, it can be a time of the year where there's just a lot of pressure from all around on the student, whether that be high school or college graduate, and also the family.
Yes.
But a lot of pressure to feel like the student is kind of like living up to some expectations. There's a big shift in schedules that happens just from the kind of predictability of schedule and routine of the way that things have been into kind of like this new era of life. So yeah, it can be really intimidating, and some of that pressure and anxiety can start to turn into you know, a bit of isolation or add to some emotional overwhelm that is
it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's interesting you bring up the routine part that, like, you know, if you're in college, you've had your set schedule of classes and you know when you're going to things and when you've got exams. And for high schoolers, sometimes that includes some of their hobbies that maybe they're not going to be doing when they get to college.
Yeah.
They're used to going to practice and going to school at a certain time. How can we best support them through that changeover? Is therapy the best way to do that?
Yeah, it's interesting you said that. There's also like this feeling of grief sometimes that can happen in that transition. And yeah, for parents, I think it's helpful to just look out for maybe some signs, like having conversations maybe about therapy and having that be an option that's kind of decreasing the stigma and talking about how that might be able to help. And therapy would be helpful in the sense of it's a space to talk about, you know, values, identity, kind of like, who am I? What's the point? What am I doing?
Right.
You know, with my life, with my career, with my major.
And not
then,
feeling like, too, like you have to have it all figured out, right? I think maybe sometimes there's that misconception of like, now I'm done with school and I've got to be this specific person, but that's a lot of pressure. Are there signs that we should look for that someone might need to talk to somebody in counseling?
I would say specifically as a parent too, noticing like maybe isolation, like sometimes overwhelm can turn into maybe being in their room a little bit more, or if you have a college student who's calling you a lot and you're noticing they're having trouble, you know, reaching out, making friends, having that sense of belonging that they once had. And then also some outside things, like if grades drastically start changing, or any sort of that kind of social interaction starts being a lot different than what you know of them. I think that it's appropriate to start, you know, kind of having an open conversation about that.
For someone who's never been in therapy before, what is that experience like? How do you get started?
Yeah, I honestly think that that can be the most intimidating part sometimes.
Right. What is that first step?
Yeah, is so calling, hopping on the website. I think a quick Google search is usually diminishes a lot of anxiety, helps you feel like you kind of know what you're doing. Scroll through the website, look at some therapists, see what pops out at you. And you totally can, you know, pick based on photos or bios or whatever feels right, and have those first couple of meetings, give it a try, and always feel like you can, you know, give it a couple of meetings, but you can always try someone else too. You can kind of see what fits for you in the same way that friends change. It's okay to kind of feel that out a little bit.
You got to get that right fit sometimes.
Yes.
I like this. I think it's so important. Mental health is health. If your arm was hurting, you go to the doctor. If you need some mental help, this is a great way to do that. Resilience Counseling and Social Skills Center. You can go online and call them. Thank you so much for your advice. And this segment was sponsored by Resilience Counseling and Social Skills Center.